Hi again. I wanted to let you all get to know me a little bit and hopefully start to build some trust with you so that you can feel comfortable being your full, authentic self with me, and hopefully with this community if it grows the way I'm hoping it could. Um, so, my name is Jen Coburn. Uh, Jennifer Claire Coburn, if I have been bad. That I didn't mean for that to get sexy, but oh well. Um, I grew up in Athol, Massachusetts. It is a small town in a really isolated part of Massachusetts, not much around. Um, and I remember thinking to myself that it was, a quiet, safe place to grow up. And then, man, perspective can really shift because I can now see very, very clearly that for me it wasn't safe. And the most dangerous place in the world for me was my home. So I grew up with every category of abuse that was taught to us in my health class in high school. I remember sitting at my desk and seeing the categories listed out on, I think it was still a blackboard because I'm older now. Um and it dawned on me that I could tick every category off. My paternal grandparents lived with us in the house I in the house I grew up in. Full disclosure, I'm a little stoned right now. That's probably not helping the flow happen so well, but we'll get there anyways. Um, okay, so they lived with us, and unfortunately, my grandfather was a pedophile, and I was his victim. I do not know if my older brother was ever a victim of his. I don't know if my father ever was, and I'll never know because he died a few years ago. Um, and that's a whole nother story. Um, so started with that trauma. Uh, Came forward to my mom about it when I was 6, when I was sitting in first grade and they had one of those good touch, bad touch videos. And they were talking about bathing suit areas. And I remember feeling so uncomfortable sitting in that chair. I wanted nothing more than for that video to end, the lights to come back on, and for us to be doing anything else. I didn't care what. It was it I had no idea what it meant. I had no way to really grasp it, but I knew that something was really wrong. Um, so I went that night. I had this habit as a kid. Anytime I felt guilty about something, if I had broken something or didn't do something I said I was going to do, or I don't know, anything, I just couldn't sleep with the guilt. So I would creep in to my parents' bedroom and tap my mom awake, and I'd have to confess whatever it was, and then I could go to sleep. See, honesty is I've always had it just built into me. Uh, I'm definitely a hard on the sleeve gal. Um, so that night I crept in and I couldn't, I mean, I remember bits of this, but I don't remember any of the fine details. Um, because that night alone was a traumatic event for me. And I remember she could tell I was like really upset. And so we went to my bedroom, sat on the edge of my bed, and I remember this so clearly. The bed was in the corner next to this window, and oh my God, the view I grew up with, I was really spoiled as far as views and surroundings. Anyways, and she was sitting on my right, and I just sobbed for I have no idea how long. And she was trying to get anything out of me that was coherent so she could figure out what the fuck was wrong with her kid. Because she, like, clearly knew that this was not anything she had experienced with me before. And eventually I managed to get out enough that she realized what I was trying to say. But like, I didn't have the vocabulary for it. I didn't have any, until that day, I had no concept that what was happening to me was wrong. And then I didn't realize until I started therapy with the therapist I'm with now. She's a goddess. Today's actually her birthday. Her name's Samira Thompson. She's based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I cannot recommend her enough if you're looking for someone and you happen to be lucky enough to be in Massachusetts, especially right now. Oh, by the way, if anyone needs to come visit Massachusetts for any reasons, I have a guest room and a really comfy couch. Just saying. No questions asked. Where was I going with that? Oh, Samira. So, man, when you get the right therapist, you know it really quickly. Our first session, she called me out on something that in hindsight I realized I had been doing my whole life, but like I had never actually clocked. I was crying in her office, and she said, I forget how it happened, but the punchline was, do you realize that you smile when you're crying? And I didn't until that moment. And then all of a sudden, I was sitting in a church pew in my head and going back through every funeral service, every wake I'd ever been at, and how fucking awkward I felt trying to just face the families and loved ones of the deceased, because I could feel a smile coming on my face, and I could be devastated and it would happen, and I didn't know why, and I had to make myself adjust, and then I just felt awkward. And I did that because I learned, unfortunately, very young, that I had to hide my feelings. I had to hide my pain. I had to make other people comfortable and take care of their needs, and that my needs weren't significant. Because after I told, again, at 6 years old, and I was really fucking cute. I'll show you guys pictures. Like Shirley Temple kind of cute. Not to brag. I was adorable. I gotta hold on to that because I have a lot of body image issues. So the knowledge that I was an adorable child helps me sometimes. Anyways, she told my father. I was not present for that conversation. I did not want to be. I must have slept so hard that night. I don't remember I don't have any clear memories of what happened next. Like none. And a lot of my childhood is a question mark. I remember certain things. I remember certain events, but I hear friends of mine talking about their childhood in such detail and with such like they're there in their head. And for me, it can be hard to do that. And I think, I mean, I know that that came from me trying to protect myself. And in this case, it was me trying not to remember that nothing changed. Um, my grandfather was never even confronted by my parents. At a therapy session with my mom years ago, it did not go well. Um, I discovered that she had no idea how long he stayed in the house after they knew that he was preying on me and sexually assaulting their child. Like, it befuddles the mind, right? I can understand where it comes from now, thanks to a shit ton of therapy, but it still fucking befuddles the mind. Um, oh, and here's a fun part. So I wasn't allowed to tell my grandmother because she was so old and so frail, and especially after he died, we couldn't ruin the memory of him for her. At 6 years old, I was given the burden of carrying the knowledge that my grandmother was married to a monster and to protect her mental health and well-being. At 6 years old, it's fucking insane. Fuck. Like, just saying it out loud, every time I do, I remember just how fucked up it is. Anyways, oh God, when she used to talk about him after he died and refer to him as a saint, I would be screaming in my head, he was a monster. You have no idea who you were married to. And for a long time, like a really long time, until I started working with Samira, I thought that was my problem. I thought that was why I was depressed. I thought that was why I never had a relationship, an actual relationship. I dated. I did other stuff too. And I mean, nothing ever went past a couple of weeks, until my current partner, Ben, who's amazing. My current partner, my only partner. He's my guy. He's my one and only. Anyways, yeah, I thought that loneliness was where the depression came from. And I thought that knowing my grandmother had spent 60 years with that man and had no fucking clue who she married, I hope. It's terrifying. To have that be ingrained so young, you would think there would be trust issues. But honestly, I've never really had trust issues. I tend to trust too much, and I tend to give too much of my heart away to romantic partners, to friends, to everyone, really. Yeah. I hope she didn't know. I'll never know. She died when I was 12. And it was that year that I had my first suicidal ideations. And as much as one of my abusers was dead, another was still alive and still is, and kept me in a constant state of terror and feeling like at any second a bomb was going to go off. Not an actual bomb, but his explosive anger would come out of nowhere. And like minutes earlier we would have been fine, and then suddenly I'm like, the most vivid one, the one that like I can still feel when I think about it. I remember running from our kitchen into our dining room and ducking into this corner. So I had a wall to my left, I had a wall behind me, and I had like the dining room hutch to my right. And I just like crumpled up and got as small as I could and tried to cover as much of myself with the walls as possible. And I saw him charging at me, and the look in his eye, I was absolutely certain that I was about to die. And I can't remember how old I was at this time, but he was 6 years older than me and played football. So he had a bit of a physical advantage. So when I saw that look in his eye and saw him charging towards me, I thought I was going to die. And the only reason I didn't, I think, is because my father stepped in the way at the right moment, like right before he was about to get to me. And then instead of punching me, he punched a wall. He punched a hole in a wall. That one of a few that I remember. I begged them constantly to do something about it, to get him into therapy, to kick him out of the fucking house. I didn't care. I just needed to not be scared all the time. And I needed someone to show me that I deserved protection, that I was worthy of it, and that my needs mattered too. But that didn't happen for me. And thanks to Samira, I think just a couple sessions in to working with her, I realized that my real trauma, what like completely fucked me up, was my parents not doing anything, just letting it happen and leaving my brother as my babysitter on occasion and having me dress up in an Easter outfit to go visit and take a picture with the pedophile who stole my innocence from me. It like it's fucked up. So yeah, I have depression. It's a lot better now than it's ever been. Like I'm living a whole new life. Truly, I'm not a risk to myself anymore. I was for a while, and we'll get to those stories. But I'm okay. It just, I don't think it'll ever stop hurting altogether. And it was last year about this time. Yeah, yeah. Last year about this time that I felt loved, like with all of my flaws, and enough that I know I'd be cared for when I fell in love with Ben. Um, yeah, he's my dream come true. Literally my dream come true. Okay. So I guess we're almost 20 minutes into this. That's enough of an intro for now. There'll be many, many more stories to come. And I want to hear yours too, because I know I'm not alone in this. I know there's so many of us out there that are just suffering, and a lot of us in silence. And I cannot begin to tell you how liberating it is to not be silent anymore. At 38 years old, I finally have found my voice, and I am fucking gonna use it, and no one's gonna stop me. And yeah, it's empowering. Come on board. All right. Everyone take care. Be good to yourself. I'll see you soon.